The Wall Street Journal's reporting NewsCorp's board has approved a plan to split the media conglomerate into two, dividing the publishing unit from its entertainment arm. Well, this all comes as the Australian unit, News Limited, pushes ahead with its bid to take over Consolidated Media to boost its pay TV assets. But Seven's Kerry Stokes, with his 24% stake in Cons Media, could thwart those plans, asking the ACCC to look at how it would view a rival Seven bid. Well, for more on all of this, how it's affecting the companies, the broker views, the share prices of all these media stocks, we are joined by media analyst at CZZ Staten Equities, Roger Coleman, from our Sydney City studio. Roger, great to see you. Thank you so much for your time. I just wanted to ask you about this reported NewsCorp split set to be announced. Investors seem to like the idea of splitting off the less profitable newspaper assets. What do you think?
Well, it's a do also partly because of the UK situation, the scandals. The scandals which affect Rupert Murdoch's family, which is James Murdoch, and trying to distance that from the main NewsCorp operation, which is USA based. That's the first issue. The second issue is that it happened in 1982 with Robert Holmes a court in a company called Associated Communications, where the non-voting stock eventually got enfranchised. And by splitting NewsCorp up into two smaller groups, it enables to stop buybacks on the group that the Rupert Murdoch's family wants to keep, to be cheaper in terms of buying back all the non-voting stock. And we'll probably see an easier morsel to swallow in terms of getting back control of the company completely in both voting and economic interest terms. And that's probably an underlying rationale for doing this. The negative on this is that NewsCorp traditionally had all its media arms operating together to further the group as a whole. And whether it's a film reviewer doing a film, whether it's NewsCorp newspapers supporting a particular stance in pay TV, NewsCorp's benefited fantastically over the last 40 years by keeping the group together and making sure all the arms influence and help the others.
I just wondered too, because there is this view that it's the entertainment side of the business that's the really profitable side, but is it really? I mean, isn't it going to face the same issues that we've been seeing newspapers face with the rise of people watching their video entertainment online?
Well, we've got a different view to that. We think the acquisitions of a business like Foxtel owning 50% of it rather than 25% and 100% in Premier Media Group is an extremely logical move in terms of the IPTV environment. We don't differentiate in our thinking between pay TV being distributed through cable, satellite, or going down an IP, an internet protocol pipe. We think there's a fantastic future for that, and the entertainment companies are going to be able to cut out more and more of the middlemen and get an increasing percentage of the content dollars out of the distribution and the consumer. So that's where you want to be. And as a content producer in video entertainment products, NewsCorp is just perfect for reaping that sort of benefit.
I just wanted to bring in, we've got with us from Mediacom, the media buying agency, Nick Keenan. Nick, just looking at this, do you think IPTV, internet TV over the actual TV set is going to be the big game changer that some do think it is? I mean, we've seen Google TV being launched this week in Australia through some new Sony TV sets. What do you think? Is it going to be sort of the way consumers view entertainment?
Look, I think over time, absolutely. These things come to market. TV is about to get a lot more competition in this country, and it's going to come from the IPTV and a lot of competition in this space. And a good example, probably, of the power of internet television is when The Voice was on, and we saw the dramatic impact that it had on the other networks. But what we saw is some of the highest time shift viewing rates we'd seen on record. As they were going and recording, their favourite TV shows on the other different networks because they wanted to watch The Voice like the rest of Australia. So that's, consuming it on demand. That's exactly what, ITV is all about, is basically watching television on your terms. So once the device, if you like, the TV set, the digital TV set that has the technology to enable the consumer to have that more choice, you're going to see a lot more of it. And you're going to see people like Google TV and Apple TV, they're going to be content providers, not just selling you the device. In fact, that'll be secondary. They're more setting themselves up for owning and distributing content.
Okay. Roger, I just wanted to ask you too, coming back to the NewsCorp split, is this going to affect the Australian arm in the sense that we'd see a split here too, or do you think that the Australian unit, News Limited, would be left as a whole?
Well, they'll have to separate the two because you don't put $2 billion extra into Foxtel, Austar and potential IPTV developments here in Australia without trying to get a valid market recognition of the valuation through the entertainment float that they're proposing, or let's say the separation. So I think they can separate the businesses here. There's no trouble. They'll do it here. They'll do it in the UK, just like they've got Sky B separated from the newspapers already there. And the New York Post is very small to begin with, and so is the Wall Street Journal relative to the entertainment assets. It's going to be pretty easy to separate the things in Australia. It's a critical thing is how the Murdoch family is going to keep those two groups operating as closely as they have been over since 1952 when Rupert took possession of the company.
I just wanted to ask you as well, because of course Seven's, Kerry Stokes has that 24% stake in Consolidated Media. So just coming back to that bid that News Limited has for Consolidated Media, do you think that Seven is serious about a rival bid? What do you think it's trying to do here?
Well, look, the key thing is, and this is the ACCC determination, we have to start with the fountainhead. Foxtel will determine the downstream market shares for TV ratings in free-to-air TV, and it can determine the downstream market shares in the broadband and mobile phone markets. So Stokes knows this, that to have a 50-50 joint venture in Premier Media Group with some slight equivalence of management control there actually determines the future ability to buy sporting rights in his free-to-air television networks in an advantageous position relative to the other two networks. So that's what he's after. Now, if he sells out to the bid, he gets about $480 million in, which is about exactly half the value of Premier Media Group, and so it'll be a non-cash received swap of two equity holdings if NewsCorp allows this to occur.
Just also on Seven, I mean, we've seen Seven West Media shares fall markedly since David Leckie stepping aside, Don Volti, the ex-Woodside boss, taking on the CEO role. Do you think that that's why the shares are down, or do you think it's also because of these concerns that Seven West may need a capital raising?
Well, it's a combination of capital raisings. I mean, reference points of net debt to EBITDAs of over 3 years, now heading towards 3.6, 3.9 years, and interest covers sitting around 3 years, 3 times interest covers are far too low relative to history. They've got debt security for another 1.5 years or so, so it's a question of how they work their way out of it. There is an issue of an equity issue, but it's fully discounted in the current market price. This is a dirt cheap stock. The removal of Leckie, or let's say the retirement of Leckie, reflects the simple fact that Seven Network has had superb management in each of its individual silos, but the group has not pulled those silos together. That's magazines, West Australian newspapers and TV, and essentially they really did need to appoint a CEO for the group to start bringing that group together.
Just very quickly on Fairfax too, how destabilising is this standoff between Gina Rinehart and the board?
Well, it's not destabilising at all. It's there'll be a resolution. Gina's got a choice of going to the shareholders, asking for her slate, if she's got a proper slate, to be presented and replace the existing board, or the board can simply refuse to have her on the board. It's destabilising if she was on the board and there was major board arguments. That is destabilising. So the current position means that everybody's in as quiet a position as they can get at the moment. She's got to come up, buy some extra shares, lobby shareholders, call an EGM, or try and put a slate in front of the AGM. That's her next step if she wants to go any further.
We'll watch that one closely. Roger, really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Roger Coleman there from CZZ. Stay with us, plenty more Media Week in a moment.